By the 19th century, branding and marking were no longer widely acceptable as means of identification. While clothing persisted as a guide to social identity, more universal means of identification were sought. Passport systems were widely used throughout 19th century Europe and included security paper, seals, physical descriptions or signalment and signatures in an effort to make individual identification secure. Such means were far from foolproof, and a range of schemes, including Bertillon's anthropometric descriptor of the ear, were developed in an attempt to secure more objective means of identification in advance of the widespread and effective use of photography. While passports became so widespread in the 19th century that they were found irksome by many travellers, the British passport remained an elite document until 1858. Until then, British passports were expensive and issued only to acquaintances of the Foreign Secretary. Most British travellers obtained cheaper passports from consulates of foreign states, especially France. Fuelled by a commitment to free trade, there was an unprecedented relaxation of passport controls across most West European states towards the end of the 19th century. This trend was brought to an abrupt halt by the outbreak of the Great War. In 1914, the British Nationality and Status Aliens Act was passed, and international moves towards using passports to distinguish between citizens and foreign nationals accelerated. The first folded two-page booklet-style documents were issued in the UK in 1915. The document has space for photographs of the bearer and his wife. It also includes date of birth, residence, profession, height, colour of eyes, hair and distinguishing marks. In 1920, under the Aliens Order, wartime restrictions were permanently extended. From then on, anyone entering or leaving the UK was required to have either a valid passport furnished with a photograph of himself or some other document satisfactorily establishing his national status and identity. After an International League of Nations conference in 1920, the 32-page Old Blue British Passport was introduced. The Old Blue British Passport changed little until the 1980s. In 1972, new watermarked blue security paper and laminated photographs were introduced. Eye colour and wife's maiden name were dropped. In this 1982 passport, a space for spouse's photograph is included, a practice that was discontinued in 1988. By the end of 1988, the first burgundy machine-readable passports featuring the words European Community were issued.